Welcome to Frontlines. We welcome our viewers from across the United States and Canada, Europe and the Middle East, Australia, and of course in Armenia and Artsakh. There is no question that our nation today is in the midst of turbulent waters. We are living through a historic moment in our history, and indeed in a neighborhood experiencing tectonic geopolitical shifts. Today, the office of the President of the Republic of Armenia stands tested yet again, as the outcome of the war and the losses endured, indeed the issues with respect to the threats of territorial integrity and our borders, has brought these issues to the forefront. And like many Armenians, many are viewing the President's office as a beacon of that stability and strength once more. And with that, I'd like to pass it on to my co-host, Garo, to introduce the President today.
Thank you, Karmik. Good morning, everyone in the Republic of Armenia, in Artsakh. Good day everywhere throughout the globe. And our guest, ladies and gentlemen, on this Tuesday morning in Yerevan is the President of the Republic of Armenia, His Excellency Armenia. Our President is also a physicist and a computer scientist who has served as the President of Armenia since 2018. We are truly honored and blessed to have the President join us this morning from Yerevan, this evening in Los Angeles, midnight in Chicago, and good day everywhere else. So pay attention, this is long overdue. Mr. President, welcome once again, Paris.
Well, thank you very much and good morning. I'm looking forward for our discussions.
Thank you. Carmen?
Thank you. Yes, Mr. President, we could just jump right in. The war and its aftermath exposed a number of issues, perhaps even fissures in the issues of the Armenian national security apparatus. Issues regarding sovereignty and territorial integrity have emerged in the media regarding Armenian statehood. I use that as a preface to get really to the core question. And I wanted to ask you what your vision is of how Armenia can emerge from this post-war crisis that continues to impact the uncertainty in Armenia and indeed the region. And to really understand what I guess parameters you feel are the ones that Armenian society indeed should be focused on in order to emerge from the post-war crisis that we are in today.
Thank you very much, Karnik. First of all, I think it's worth to mention that I had a completely different vision of overcoming this multi-level, multi-layer crisis that we are facing now in Armenia. And on the practical side, when the war was stopped, and we had a ceasefire, in one of my first announcements, I made it clear that in developed, normal, democratic states, after the war of this scale and the loss of so many young lives and the loss of territory, the loss of big part of Karabakh, the logical thing would have been the resignation of the government to open a practical route to the future. When I was speaking, and I made it clear and announced that. And as you can understand, I think when you have a complex and painful and emotional situation like that, the best way is, first of all, to bring down the emotional level of debate. And resignation of the government would have meant, in fact, exactly that. Of course, life should continue, and the approach, it's a classical approach, there's nothing new there. You have to get a new government, and that government could be either a government of national unity, when the major political forces come together and put together in a time of big national tragedy or difficulty, a united government, or I think, again, united government, but the level zero. I mean, just forget about all political parties, have a professional government. that will serve for a while, basically answering and responding and also solving multiple of issues that we are facing. It's not only the economy, it's the COVID, it's difficulties in different sectors, starting from educations, healthcare, and many others. But of course, the war is not over. There are a lot of events that could have been prevented, or they are still there. Border tensions, of course, nobody can guarantee sort of a very human or dignified behavior of our neighbor Azerbaijan here. And as you know, there are huge tensions on the borders. So the government should take care of them, because that's the direct responsibility of the government to answer this question and to take care the integrity of the borders. But the Constitution claims that the president is the one that has to guarantee the integrity of the state, which as a declaration is fine, it's the right one. But in this society and with this constitution, the president doesn't have any realistic tools to basically fulfill his obligation. To be honest, the number of tools is close to zero. It's the responsibility of the government, and the president has to remind by word and by his authority, has to remind the government that they have to take care of integrity of our state. Other issues, prisoners of war. I mean, Armenia has returned Azeri prisoners, and the Azeri side has kept a couple of hundred of them. I mean, this a couple of hundred is a huge number, because you are speaking about a couple of hundred families that living hell these days. I mean, their sons or daughters are in captivity with the enemy, and this should be resolved. And of course, there should be used any political or international humanitarian tool in order to bring them back, to bring back our boys back to Armenia. As the President of the Republic, again, I don't have the tools, and I'm not the one that negotiates, neither with Azeri side, nor with the Russian side, because the famous ceasefire announcement was signed by the President of Russian Federation, by President of Azerbaijan, and Prime Minister of Armenia. So it's the duty of Prime Minister to continue what he has signed, bringing back our boys home. I have been in Syunik and other regions, border regions of Armenia. Again, you are facing tragedies of, and I'm not using this word easily, tragedy, because it is tragedy when half of the village that people used to live now is occupied by Azeris, unlawfully, against international law, and basically without any humanitarian behavior there. And these people are living every night with the fear that something can happen. So again, it's the responsibility of the state to take care of that. So coming back to your question, I think it's very important that we should have gone choosing a new government, either a government of national unity or a professional, fully professional government. Again, unfortunately, the president doesn't have the tools. And if I was the president of Italian Republic, like my good friend, Mr. Mattarella, he had a similar crisis, not a similar, but he had a crisis, political crisis. But because the Italian constitution has an article number 88, which is one simple sentence that says in the times of crisis, the president can dismiss the parliament. So what does the president do? Very simple, calls the prime minister, says, dear prime minister, either you resign and I form a professional government, or I will send the parliament home. So this is exactly what he did. And as a result, the prime minister decided, but it's better for his party to stay in the parliament. So he resigned. While in the meantime, President Mattarella brought Mr. Draghi, who used to be non-political person, he used to be the governor of the Central Bank of Europe, as a professional prime minister, and they created a professional government. They overcame the crisis. and the country is in stable situation. So that's very important. So my suggestion was, but unfortunately, the government and the prime minister decided to take another path and they stayed in power. And again, as I said, there is no way that I can force them. The only tool that I have is my word and trying to convince the other side or the other sides that this is a better way rather than the one that you are choosing. While having this, having a time, let's say a year for temporary government, I think we should have been using that, first of all, to change two things, the Constitution and the electoral code. Why the Constitution? Because my experience, as the head of the state, but also as someone that has gone in a laboratory called Republic of Armenia with this Constitution for 3 years, as a scientist, as a politician, as a president, I can confirm and I can prove that our Constitution doesn't work properly. And if we go deep inside and try to realize what was the reason that we failed during the war, well, there are many reasons, of course, for that. It's historic reasons, there are many reasons, and we can have a debate for hours about this. But one of the reasons is the Constitution. The Constitution, which is called parliamentary, but in reality, it's a constitution of super prime ministership. Anybody getting into that position will always have the sort of a second thought that will become first thought to continue like that, because you have full power and no responsibility. And that's human. You have to be very strong as a human being, as a politician, to overcome this and decide to change it. Now, life has brought us to an edge that even the prime minister has recognized publicly that we have to change it. The current leader of opposition, the person that is leading in the election campaign, second president of the republic, Mr. Kocharyan, he has recognized that we have to change the Constitution. And there are many reasons for that. As I said, to make it blunt, I mean, according to this Constitution, one person with his party designs the parliament, fine. Then that same person designs the government and becomes the prime minister. And that same person, through the parliament, designs the president, because president is elected by the parliament. That same person, through the parliament, designs the constitutional court. That same person, through the parliament, designs the legal system and the courts. So what do you call this? Where are the checks and balances? Where are the checks and balances? They don't exist. So theoretically, it doesn't matter, are you presidential or parliamentary, okay? If you have the checks and balances, then hopefully it will work. But if there are no checks and balances, it can't. And as an example, our neighbor, Georgia, they claimed they are parliamentary republic and their system is much more stable. And I can bring you a couple of examples connected with the Georgian presidency. For example, Georgian president, Madame Salome Zurabishvili, is the head of the army, commander-in-chief. And that makes a big difference during a war. Because during this war, it was not clear who is the commander-in-chief. And until today, we hear the government blames the generals and generals blame the government for the responsibility. Or when a law comes on my table, I have only two choices. Choice number one, to sign it. Choice number two, if I find a problem with Constitution, to send it to Constitutional Court. I don't have a third one. But the last one is I don't sign it, but then automatically in 3 days' time, after 21, the Speaker of the Parliament signs it and it becomes the law. Sometimes you can use that tool, but what does it prove? What does it prove?
Yeah.
Georgian president has the power of veto. The law comes on the table, and the president can put a veto with her remarks, send it back to the parliament, which is healthy. Not every law that comes to my table has a conflict with constitution, but there are a lot of laws that have conflict either with the educational system or with the health system or with the economy or investment or many other issues. And the president usually has to be someone that has life experience and can make judgments on this. And the president has the personnel here. Well, I have top-class lawyers working with me. I have top-class advisors in diplomacy, in national security, and many other issues. So I can make a judgment. I'm someone that listens to others, okay? So why on earth someone that you were saying that has experience of being on the board of Chicago, Harvard, cannot have an opinion on law and education? It came to my table. I looked at the law with a red pencil, separate from being constitutional or not. I looked at it with the eyes of a professor. And that law, every page has my red remarks. You see, it doesn't resolve the issues related to education and science, okay? Why on earth we cannot have a law when if we stay as a parliamentary republic, the president should have the right of veto, and so on. So the case is proven, and if we have to change the constitution, the sooner the better. Now, coming back to your question, so my approach was always resignation of the government, either the new government of national unity or professional government, let's say for a year or year and a half, preparing the country for the new constitution or the changes in the constitution, the current one, preparing the electoral code because it's connected with the constitution and the concept. And it's very important. Actually, today we have a parliament where elections are run like presidential. You look at the ballots, you look at the presentations, people are voting for Nikol Pashinyan, or people are voting for Robert Kocharian, people are voting for Gagik Tsarukian, and so on and so forth. Yeah. They are not voting for those who are in the list. And the worst thing, you go to the villages in Armenia, ask them, who are your deputies? Who are the members of National Assembly that are representing you? They don't know. They don't know. It's a house of representation. And in Armenian, it said padgamavor, someone that takes the padgam, the message, from the village, from the city to the parliament, and backwards from the parliament back to those people. There is no padgam. There's no representation.
Mr. President, you hit a real tone with me when you used the word badgamavor. Badgamavor is a messenger who takes the message. You're correct, sir. You recently, you just spoke about the need for constitutional reform, with which I believe my colleague Carnegie and I agree. And you further have made recent remarks about the need for constitutional reform to also be inclusive of the diasporan talent. I believe the way you phrased it, Spyrkum darper volortnerum ամենաբարձր աստիճանի ու հաջողության հասած մարդիկ սահմանադրությամբ իրավունք չունեն Հայաստան վերադառնալ եւ բարձր պաշտոն ունենալ. How do you envision, and you've talked about we need to be together, you've spoken about we should not separate between black and white, us or them, and you know, the list goes on. So how does the diasporan, who lives and breathes and wakes up and sleeps and has been doing so for years and years, and many who rediscovered their identity as Armenians because of the 44-day war, who agonize, how can we go about this? There'll be elections June 20th. As president, as a statesman that you are, do you think you will be able to reason with those who will come into parliament, whoever they may be, for this to actually occur so we can be the one nation that we believe we are? 10, 11 million strong.
Yeah. Very important question, I think. And I think this is a question that has its history going back to early days of our republic. I think we took the wrong path from day one. And I had the same opinion early 90s. I knew that my opinion was different from then President of Republic of Armenia, Petrosian, and other colleagues. But I always believed that this country has one priority, one strength, one prime power that this nation, as a nation and as a state, can use, which is Armenian people. I mean, every state has its own priorities or privileges or powers that, and then the whole question is, can you use it? You have to put all of this power into action to serve your nation and your state. Well, let's not go far. I mean, our neighbor and our neighbor with whom we had this war, Azerbaijan, we won the first war which was stopped in 1994. For 26 years, we were victorious, okay? Did we act properly? I would say no, because we had things to do which we didn't do it. But in 1994, Armenian forces were controlling most of Nagorno-Karabakh or most of Artsakh and further territories which were not initially a part of Nagorno-Karabakh Autonomous Republic of Azerbaijan. What happened with Azerbaijan after this defeat? I mean, the leadership in Azerbaijan decided to use their own privileges or their own power, which it's simple at the end of the day. It's the oil. It's the being a logistic crossroad from the roads going from Caspian, Central Asia, further down to the west to Europe. To use their friendship with Turkey, full scale, and of course to use their friendship with Russia as well, 4 components, okay? Now, and they got what they wanted 26 years after. And imagine Azerbaijan without the pipeline. To be honest, when I remember those days, I could guarantee you that President Aliyev's father, for him, the pipeline was more important than Karabakh. Because he knew he could get Karabakh back if he can have the pipeline. Because the pipeline was the key to make Azerbaijan powerful. To make Azerbaijan powerful, to make money, to use that money to build an army, and so on and so forth, okay? And I think that was the right time to negotiate for the future of Karabakh. Because Father Aliyev, being someone reasonable, would have come to a compromise with us on the future of Karabakh, because, as I said, for him, the pipeline was more important. And those days, everybody believed that Armenia had the most powerful army in the region. I mean, it's everybody, starting in Russia, in NATO, everybody. So they were taking Armenia seriously as a military power of the region. And that was, and we were politically well exposed or positioned, because majority in Europe or the world had sort of a positive emotional approach to Armenia, which is not the case now, because we have lost that as well in our diplomacy. Now, using your strength is the key. And where is our strength? Do we have oil? Okay, we have some minerals, some gold, some copper, which in reality is the hands of individuals, either foreign or local former politicians. So what else do we have? The real value that we have is our nation, the talented people worldwide, hardworking, with knowledge that they have accumulated, working in different societies, different cultures, And that's a huge value at the end of the day. And of course, if I was an executive president, one of the first things that I would do, I would change the constitution and I will take off the barriers, because what we have built is Berlin Wall between the diaspora and Armenia. I mean, there's Berlin Wall, you can come and visit Armenia, okay? No problem. You can do charity, you can give money, you can invest, but never think, this is what Constitution says, of influencing politics in Armenia because you live abroad, because your sons are not going they are not serving in the army in Armenia, and so on and so forth. Well, I disagree. Okay. Of course, it's a chicken and egg, but you have to start breaking that and building a society where the whole nation is engaged. Then the sons and daughters of Armenia that live abroad will come and serve in the army. The sons and daughters that live abroad will come and serve in the government and make our government the most professional, the most efficient, the most powerful government. Because these days it's not about how much at the end of the day, eventually how much you have this or that. It's about how much effective you are as a government, as a leadership that can accumulate and use the maximum of what you have as a strength. So what we have today, we are absolutely not using our strength. We'll look like an Arab state in the Gulf, or any state in the Gulf, that has decided they are not having huge reserves of oil, they have decided not to use it. So what would that state look like? A desert. But now look at these states. There are no deserts. There are phenomenal states, phenomenal cities. They are investing money. And where are they investing money that came from oil? Into people. You go to Doha, to Abu Dhabi, to Riyadh, they are investing money in universities, education, in people. So we are already a state that people are invested. They are invested in Armenia, they are invested in Russia. There are as many armies living in Russia on highest levels. Well, I mean, I don't want to bring examples. Look at the Russian government. How many members have Armenian blood? They are being educated and prepared in Europe, in France, in Germany, in Britain, in Italy, in North America, in Canada, in United States, in South America, in Argentina and Brazil, in Middle East, in Far East. And we are not using that. I mean, the states are using their oil in order to educate people because the real power is in people. And we have this real power and we are not using it.
A quick follow-up is this. When we are speaking about the resources of the Armenian nation, the diasporan resources, right next to Armenia historic, frontier Armenia, is Republic of Artsakh. Where do we go post June 20th, and how do we secure the safety of our people in Artsakh and become truly the one nation that the security of its people in Armenia and Artsakh is paramount, foremost priority, and then taking a step further, just like the United States, where I live in Los Angeles, where Carnegie lives in Chicago, we know that it has armies in different parts of the world outside of the United States. And those armies outside of the United States serve the interests of the United States. So I liken it to the Armenian community of Southern California, the Armenian community of Lebanon, the Armenian community of Iran, Syria, Paris, France, everywhere, South America, Russia, are all soldiers of the Armenian nation living abroad who can serve the Armenian nation. And there must be a way where we can bridge between Armenia and Artsakh, not just the Lachin corridor, but a real bridge And sir, I must implore you as a statesman, as the president who has been stripped of constitutional, there must be a way, because you are a master negotiator, so you must be able to come up with a solution. What is the solution?
Okay. Well, you raised the question about the safety of Artsakh and security of Artsakh, future for Artsakh. But we have the same question for Republic of Armenia today.
Yes.
No different. No different. And we have to be serious here. Okay. And I think in one word, the solution, I call it the Fourth Republic. Have you read about this or not? If you have not read it, I'll send you the article that I have printed. I have published it in, it's 6-7 pages, simple. It's called the Fourth Republic, basically saying our Third Republic, we have done a lot of things right, because we had the First War winning, we have built the state, many positive things. Let's not forget it, the state is there. But we have to recognize that we have done also a lot of things not right, but wrong. And there's a big list of that. And one of the wrong things that we have built a Berlin Wall between diaspora and Armenia. That Berlin Wall should be destroyed. But that will not resolve the issue. This should be resolved, and there are many ways of engaging Armenians abroad, not only in developing Armenia's economy, educational system. We see the results of that. Everybody in Yerevan is proud of TUMO. Okay? This school, after class school for young boys and girls that come, everybody, whoever comes to this country, we take it to show them TUMO. Okay, TUMO. Okay, President Macron goes and sees TUMO, Chancellor Merkel goes, everybody wants it. There is one in Paris now built by TUMO. So what is TUMO? It's an idea that came from a gentleman that you know very well, from America. And he brought his money, his ideas. And what Armenia had to do is to just support and don't make his life miserable, to help him to do what he wants to do. You spoke about Diligence School. Where did it come from? From a lot of investors from Russia. It is Nubarov, Ruben, Vartanyan, and others, and including me, a little bit I'll help them as well. So it is a result of the action of diaspora. Okay, the Armenian electricity network is owned by Samuel Karapetyan from Russia. He invests into the electricity system in Armenia. Everybody comes to Armenia now, they are proud because there is a modern airport there. So who built that? Eduardo Ernequian. I mean, you go to Echmiadzin now. I mean, there were two families, Manukyan families, Alex Manukyan, Luis Simon Manukyan, and also Vache Manukyan and Tamar Manukyan. They made huge donations to the church and revival of our church because it was disaster in early 90s. I loved Karakin the first. He was my good friend, our Catholicos. But the condition that Echmiadzin was in was disaster. I mean, material condition. I mean, Karakin II has done a magic by giving confidence to a lot of the people who donate money. A lot. I mean, Hovnanians, the same Ernekian, as I told already, Manukyan family, Vache and Tamar Manukyan, and many others. And they invested in the economy as well, all of them. I mean, current Armenia is already doing well because there is huge support from diaspora. Imagine that support goes higher on an order 10 times or 2 times order, 100 times. And of course, you can engage people from diaspora, including you, in what is happening in Armenia, in the legal system, in the courts, having your advice in much more vigorous and energetic way. We can engage them also. In public policy and real policy. I mean, how on earth a country like France, that has diaspora worldwide. But if you compare relatively the number of citizens of France compared with the number of diaspora they have, well, you cannot compare that with Armenia. In Armenia, we have around 3 million people living. We have, God knows, 3, 4, 5 times more Armenians living abroad. There are at least as many Armenians living in Russia as in Armenia. I'm not speaking about California, France, and many Argentina, and so on and so forth. Okay. There are no 3 times France. There are no 250 million French people living in the world. No. But France, inside the National Assembly, they have people who have double citizenship by definition, and they represent their diasporas. And one of the formulas, it's one of the possible formulas that can be applied to Armenia, or maybe we can find a different one. And the formula is very simple. 2, 3 countries of the north or the west north of Europe, they have communities. First of all, you connect the community with the embassy, so they come and register as an organization. Secondly, when the election time comes, okay, that special committee, which is attached to represents the community there, let's say in UK or in Denmark or in Holland, they organize elections of their representatives from their own community. And the rule is that person should have dual citizenship, both citizenship of France and Holland. Okay? They are elected on a specific seats in the National Assembly that represent diaspora. So that's a solution for you. There's nothing wrong with that. At least we will have Padgamavor that will bring Padgam from diaspora and take a Padgam from Armenian National Assembly to the diaspora. I mean, you make the parliament 150 seats, give 30 seats to diaspora. 120 is the others. There is another possible solution. You create a second chamber, Senate. Okay? I'm not suggesting this. I'm saying that you have to be creative to find a solution for your own sake. And in the Senate, you can have, it's a House of Representatives, and basically what you have, specific number of regions of Armenia put their representatives. President nominates, for example, very famous Armenians to sit at the Senate. I mean, worldwide known names of Armenians that have experience of life, that have been prime ministers of other countries, or they have been ministers of other countries, politicians, or great scientists, or great business sitting at the Senate. Then the other 1/3 is represented by communities. Here we are. I mean, those who will be sitting in the Senate will be highly regarded people, and they will represent the diaspora there. Of course, we can and we have to engage people living in diaspora in living a normal life as in Armenia. You come to Armenia, you get a residency, you pay taxes. You are an Armenian. There are states, like the obvious one is Israel. Everybody outside Israel takes this not as a responsibility. They take this as an honor to go and serve in the army. I have so many Jewish friends living in New York, in London, and these people are, I mean, multi-billionaires, but they send their children to serve. First of all, because the army is strong, there's discipline. They can trust the army their children. Very important. They can trust the army their children. Okay. Now, this was about a little bit about diaspora, but the Fourth Republic is to recognize and openly speak about the problems that we had before. There are several of them, okay? There are several of them. And one of them is that we lived a life, political life, where virtuality was stronger than reality. In Armenia, Facebook is everywhere, but in a small country like Armenia, for years, people were treated and they were forced and educated in order to have their main information from a Facebook. And in Armenia, the outlets or the source of information is politically controlled. I mean, it's not a secret. Second, we lived for years in a world when we pretended. We pretended that Armenia has an IT sector. I'm here to tell you, I'm a specialist. We're not an IT country. This is someone that dreams to make Armenia an IT country. We are not. The number of professional IT guys, boys and girls, is probably around between 6,000 to 10,000. The remaining another 10,000 or 50,000 are those who work technically in that sector, okay, 30,000 altogether. Okay? And we pretend and we tell everybody and we believe that we are an IT country. Okay, we have islands of excellence like the same Tumo, or schools, fantastic schools like Fund. There are many of them, I've been others. There are many fantastic schools, but they're islands where I will be happy as a president that the children on the border will get the same education as in the center of Yerevan. Because that's the strength. Because talented boys and girls are born not in the center of Yerevan, they are born anywhere. And we have to find this talent. In order to find the talent, you have to have good quality of education, which we don't. I mean, we pretend, we bring everybody to show Tumo and they think, wow, if this is one of the schools, imagine the level of IT education in Armenia. So we have to stop pretending. There's another world where we were pretending. A lot of us believed that we have a strong army. People believed that we were winning the game. I'm not speaking about who was saying what, the politicians and all of that. Leave that. I'm speaking about the principal things. We were ready as a society believing anything that we were told. So we have to stop. We have to ask questions, challenge every and each announcement or information, and stop lying to ourselves. I mean, this pretend life. Okay, for 26 years after victorious, why we won the first war? For a simple reason. Because we were a couple of years ahead of Azerbaijan. It was the same Azerbaijan, the same Turkey, their friend, but we won. Why? Because our army was 2-3 steps ahead, 2-3 years ahead. Why? Because we managed to bring professionals, Armenians, from other armies, first of all, Russia, that had experience in Soviet Union, were professional soldiers, that had experience in Afghanistan. They came from a general up to a lieutenant or a soldier. They were professional soldiers, and we managed to make the army of volunteers, of Fedains, into professional army. We're ahead of Azerbaijan, so we won the war. Now Azerbaijan is ahead of us for 10 years in new technology structure with the help of the oil, with the help of the money, and Turkey.
Yeah.
We have to be ready. But now, after 26 years, when I became president, one of the first things that I announced and said and repeated every time was about that we live an abnormal life. More than half of the population of Armenia lives in Yerevan. Imagine United States, everybody living in Washington. But this is where we are. Or even in New York. I mean, this country has the size of New York. You drive 2 hours, you come to the borders of Armenia. Not to the south from Yerevan, but even to the north. 3 hours, 4 hours. You drive 3-4 hours, you come from one street of New York to another street of New York. So it is very important. And one of the things that I was mentioning for 3 years, because I couldn't mention more toughly, more stronger, that can you imagine in 2018 when I became president, the number of visitors of Artsakh was 18,000 people. 18,000, out of which 10,000-12,000 were the family members or the relatives of the soldiers. So 6,000, 10,000 visitors. This is Artsakh that we fought. We lost lives. But it was not only Artsakh. You take Gyumri, which is 1 hour drive from Yerevan, beautiful city, the city that we managed not to destroy the historic part of it. And we have to keep it like Goris, because we have only a couple of them that have carrying the historic value. The number of visitors were 30,000. And I started coming, talking about that. Now I'm so happy that the number of visitors have gone 2 or 3 times. Because we have to realize, this is a small country. You can live in Zakhkazor and come and work in Yerevan. You will be much faster than in Los Angeles or in Chicago or in New York. And that's the future. You will live with your family in a healthy environment. You will keep that. How on earth we were thinking of keeping Artsakh when in 1994, the official number of people living there was around 140,000. In 2020, it was 120, less 20,000. It should have been tripled. So pretend. This is the Third Republic. Don't pretend, don't lie to yourself. There are so many issues that we have to do right. And if we do it right, we'll get to the Fourth Republic. We will use our strength. We'll use the diaspora in the Fourth Republic. And if you combine all of these changes, I call it Fourth Republic. And to be honest, when you just wrote me your questions, I decided I just put on paper, and let me just read a paragraph of that.
Sure, please.
I'll send it to you, but I will advise, read that small article that I read, the Path to Fourth Republic. But I wrote it because I can tell you, but I think if I read it, it will be better. So your question was, what are the keys to translating your vision for Armenia's future into action? And I wrote this, but maybe it's not all right or all in the right place, but I wrote this yesterday. I think it is the existence of the national state ideology. First of all, we have to have one. Well, we are not living in, we have to have a national identity, a national ideology, where we have to go, what we have to achieve, what sort of a country. And that ideology should basically translate it into vision, and that vision into strategy, and the strategy into plan of action. That's absolutely clear. Recognizing, knowing, or really redefining our identity. Very important. Who we are, who are we worldwide? Our identity matters because the strong small states usually have a very strong identity. Having the courage to accept our mistakes, important. Having the strength to acknowledge our weaknesses. Having the rationality and responsibility to acknowledge the reality. Not live in a dream world. Committing and becoming better collectively and individually. I would put it individually and collectively. Unity of all Armenians all over the world. Strong vision, hard work, professionalism, and responsibility. Then it comes trust, fair and noble motives, belief into the inevitability of our success. Through love towards our homeland, towards each other, and towards our mission, through willingness to collaborate and learn, through dedication, perseverance, and discipline. All this should be generating and building the new Fourth Republic, even from zero. I think what is important that we have this mission and discipline, organization. These are human words of human behavior. If we bring it back to our republic, then we will succeed. Then we'll fight corruption, which is there in this country, in a huge scale compared with the small size of this country. We'll know where we are going, which we don't now. We will learn then easily how to protect Armenia and how to protect Artsakh. So we cannot just take Artsakh in this sort of a framework of Third Republic, what we have today, and think about how we are going to protect it. Because there's a question. We had 26 years. Why didn't we protect Artsakh? We had 26 years of peace. Why didn't we protect Artsakh? And if we are going to continue the way we live now, we will not succeed at all. We'll not protect Artsakh, we'll not protect Armenia, we'll not make our nation and the statehood strong. And we have the chance, because in the 21st century, this is going to become very soon as a world where natural resources will be secondary. Where are the biggest oil companies in the stock exchange in America? Which companies are the biggest? Amazon, Google, IBM, you name it, Microsoft. All the power of brain, or power of individual, not the power of oil. Oil will have its own, very simple. I brought this example to you because it's very important, because smart states, they are using their strength in order to make their human power stronger. Singapore, they use their ports, location, everything for promote education, science, technology. Singapore has one of the best universities in the world now. Just having a port doesn't help you. Just having oil doesn't help you if you don't have a vision. So we are, by definition, we have the possibility of making Armenia strong and making this nation strong. But first of all, we have to work and act as one nation, one state. No Berlin walls.
And I wanted to follow up, if I may, real quickly on the point of the Fourth Republic, the image that you painted so eloquently. Clearly, there's the value of investment in human capital. One of the main aspects of the picture you just painted is a Fourth Republic that is outside looking, not inside looking, outside looking, not only for its human capital. And this is where I'd like to segue to a point which I think will draw on your history as a diplomat. When you mentioned the fact that the amount of the significant portion of the Armenian population that lives in Yerevan and really had no exposure to Artsakh, to Goris, to Gyumri, it brings to mind the fact that a country in this geopolitical reality, at this moment in time, and one that is so concentrated in the capital, as you were comparing it to the United States and other larger countries, it seems that this outward-looking aspect of the Fourth Republic is on multi-levels, and one of them, I think, has to be a realistic appreciation of the geopolitical neighborhood in which Armenians live today. And I was hoping that you could opine just a little bit on whether it's through our diplomatic corps or whether it's through our governing approaches or our alliance building, a vision, a national identity is going to have to appreciate where we are. I think the war itself awakened the global Armenian nation to the immediate neighborhood, not necessarily the Azerbaijan and Turkey issue, but the issue of mercenaries from Syria, the role of Iran, the role of, or the lack of role of Georgia, for example. I think that what are your thoughts on on inspired leadership going forward in really understanding how this vision of the Fourth Republic looking outside, what does that translate through diplomatically? Because it seems that the leadership of a country that is in this particular geopolitical reality, and it's almost impossible that that sophistication of this sophisticated diplomacy and understanding of global relations is almost a prerequisite to governing a nation like the Armenian Republic.
Well, I agree with you. It's an important question that you are raising. There is no way that you can have Fourth Republic, which is basically inward looking. No way. Many reasons for that. First of all, unfortunately, during the Third Republic, we were very much sort of inward looking at our own issues, basically separating ourselves even from diaspora, as I said. Okay, you are allowed this, but you are not allowed that, and so on. And I'm not speaking about getting yourself being much more active internationally. And therefore, for that, there are several reasons. Reason number one, the world has changed. I mean, what is neighborhood is different today. Let me give you an example. For me, there was the war. Now the people are busy with elections. I hope it will bring a bit more stability and understanding to the future of the country. I'm not sure that it will. I'm not sure with the results that we're getting. I'm not sure with the culture that we have created during these years. I'm not sure with the hatred and absence of tolerance that we have created all of these years, that 21st of June will be resolving our issues. I hope. And as a president, I'm going to do everything, using my main tools, which is my individuality or personality, but the most important, my word, because I don't have any other tools, to make sure that this country will go through the elections in a more human way, stable, without civil destruction and many other troubles that none of us wants to be happening. Now, coming back to the idea, so the Third Republic was based basically in general terms on a closed society, closing yourself from diaspora, from others. We are who we are, and so on. Of course, we had diplomacy. Of course, we had relations. We had good relations with a lot of countries. There was activities going. But what we need is completely of a diplomacy, public diplomacy, professional, political diplomacy on a completely different scale, because this world is different. I took that time of these elections. I went with a state visit to Georgia, not because I had the invitation for a while, but also to understand what's happening there, because they're our neighbor, physical neighbor. And if something happens in Georgia, that will hurt Armenia enormously. Another country which is very important for us is Iran. I don't have to bring the reasons for that. I was in Russia as well. I spent the week there and visiting scientific centers and meeting friends, political friends and others. I took as a holiday there and 3 days of working visit. Because sometimes on a holiday, you learn more than when you are on official visit. So, and I'll come back to you on the technological side, to you. I'm just back from Kazakhstan. Well, look at Kazakhstan. You have to fly 3.5 hours from Armenia to Kazakhstan. It's not our direct neighbor, but Kazakhstan is our neighbor because it's politically the strongest country in the Central Asia. It's a member of the same organizations that we are in, like Eurasia Economic One and Collective Defense System. And they are after Russia, they are the most influential ones there. They have very strong relations and connections with Azerbaijan and Turkey. So we have, and I have very good relations with them personally, and Armenia has good relations. I know the leaders for many, many years, and I thought it's the right thing to go because Kazakhstan is a neighbor to us, although it's 3.5 hours of flight, but their influence, because their oil goes through Baku, Tbilisi, Ceyhan. They have huge influence on the region. They have huge influence on our neighbors. The world has changed. We are neighbors with the United States. We're neighbors with Russia. And this is the new world that we're going to enter. And in this new world, more and more, a thought, a discovery, a scientific discovery, technology are going to be the dominant ones. They're going to be dominant as well in diplomacy as well. So that means Armenia, because it's small, because it has problems, Armenia has to be 10 times more energetic in its diplomacy. And that diplomacy should be based on our identity, on our vision, on our mission, and definitely using full scale the whole nation, including, first of all, the diaspora, which we are not doing. And we have to have completely different approaches. I mean, sitting there and complaining that the world consists of friends and enemies doesn't help. If you have a friend, let's say Russia, because everybody recognizes Russia is a friend of Armenia, then you have to work very hard, 10 times more, to keep that friendship. It's a tree. You don't put your water there, it will dry. And there are no friends and there are no enemies forever. Try to find some of them. So it's very important to redefine our policy, our diplomacy. But in order to do that, you have to define again, what is your identity, mission, strategy? What is that we want to achieve in 30 years' time? Mm-hmm. If we don't identify, we're going nowhere. We're just surviving. Our neighbor Azerbaijan had defined 26 years ago, they want to return that lands. And what is that we have defined where we want to go? Can you tell me? Can you tell me? Karnik, Karo, no, because there is no defined mission for this nation. And this nation cannot live without mission. We have to have a mission. And then Fourth Republic becomes the tool of making that mission reality. And in that mission, it's very important. We have to be absolutely modern. Because the strength tomorrow, or today already, is artificial intelligence technology. This war was not lost by these young boy soldiers. It was lost because we didn't have the drones that we could have. These drones you can buy them. Why didn't we buy them? While in Israel, I have this project, a presidential initiative, which is called Atom, Advanced Tomorrow, basically trying to help to develop the new technologies in Armenia, especially artificial intelligence. And we have agreed with many companies, including French companies, top names, I'm speaking to top American companies. We have pre-signed with another 15 companies. And I was in Russia speaking to the top Russian universities and so on and so forth, signing with them to make Armenia a state of artificial intelligence. Because that's the way we can win tomorrow. Tomorrow's drones are going to be driven not by operators, by artificial intelligence. Tomorrow's agriculture is going to be driven by artificial intelligence. And we have to invest also in high-tech biotechnologies. Luckily, we have these great guys that work worldwide in there. We have to look at reality, recognize reality, and then work hard for years to achieve what we want to achieve.
Mr. President, I was going to make my final question to you this morning in Yerevan about the level of optimism you may have about the future of Armenia, the future of Artsakh, the future of the Armenian diaspora. But you mentioned about what is our vision? We didn't have a vision. I thought in the diaspora, at least for me and many others like me, we thought our vision all along was to find a final solution to support the right of self-determination of the people of Artsakh. We never thought Armenia was weak to the point of being taken over, not just in the war of aggression against Artsakh, but now within Armenia territory, in Syunik, where Your Excellency, along with our dear friend, the Ombudsman of Armenia, Arman Tatoyan, had a multi-day visit not too long ago, where every day we hear several reports of human rights violations, sovereignty violations. So with all of that in the backdrop, do you see a way where the Syunik region crisis will end favorably versus the tragic 44 days that befell upon Artsakh? And finally, I will return to my thought question all along. Are you optimistic with the Fourth Republic in mind, of course?
I do believe even today, if you have a strong government and a strong hand, you can protect Syunik and resolve the issues. And when I speak about strength, I not only speak about the strength of the army. To bring back the strength of Armenian army, we will need years.
Mm-hmm.
But to have a strong presence in Syunik, it's a different matter. You have the means to have a strong presence in Syunik. Secondly, you have to have a strong voice when you negotiate about the current situation, both on the borders in Syunik and in Artsakh. So we need a bit different diplomacy here, talking to the same people, to Azerbaijan, to Turkey, of course, to our friend Russia and Georgia. I think we have very quickly to redefine our means, diplomatic means, and the strength of the voice, and how do we play this. And I'm absolutely sure that it's possible. Coming back to your second question about as a mission to make Artsakh strong, you mentioned yourself, you were believing that Armenia was strong enough in order to fulfill that. That brings to the points that I read to you about stopping lying to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We have to look at the reality, how really strong we are, where are our weaknesses, and what is that we have to do in order to really become a strong state. Otherwise, we will lie to ourselves, and that's the worst thing that you do in your life. Lying to yourself, to your family, to your nation. Now, am I optimist or not? I'm sorry, as an Armenian, do I have any other choice? And I'm double that. As an Armenian, president of Armenia, do I have another choice? No. And to be honest, I am not only optimist because of these two reasons, being an Armenian and the president, but because also I see the huge potential that we still have to build, using the human potential of this nation to build a very strong state, a state of 21st century that is focusing towards future rather than the past, because all of the past problems will be resolved, all of them, if we have a strong presence in the future. So I believe in future. I believe this nation can build a strong Armenia, and being a strong Armenian can protect not only Armenia and Artsakh and the rights of all diaspora as well. And I don't lie to myself. I see the potential. And I'm here to work hard. The only thing with this Third Republic and And the constitution is that it's absolutely frustrating for me, to be honest, because I live every day knowing that I am using 5, maximum 10% of my capacity. I could have done much more, both in diplomacy but things don't allow me to do it. It doesn't add pessimism to my optimism. I'm still optimist because I believe that we can build the Fourth Republic together.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President, this has been a true honor to have you with us, and I have to say, I think your profound thoughts, both from the structural side as well as from the visionary side, is this is food we've wanted to eat for a long time. I think as a nation, I think we want to see those lights and those opportunities, and I think you've painted a really fascinating picture as to how to transform ourselves from looking in to looking out, from understanding from a basis of reality as opposed to fiction. These are themes that transcend a number of different areas of the Armenian experience, not just in government, but in education, in IT, in business. I think that those they are powerful thoughts and powerful images to guide our nation out of the present circumstances that we're in and into a future where we can realize the way you said, our full potential. And I'm sure that you know that both Gado and I, as well as a number of other Armenians throughout the diaspora, will join you in that mission always. And I think that the framework that you laid is one that is captivating and one that is promising. And we appreciate very much your time, Mr. President. I know that you're extremely busy, and we do, our audience also obviously appreciates the opportunity to connect with you from across the United States, Europe, Australia, the Middle East. We've received many, many messages in anticipation of your appearance here with us today, and I'm sure that as we can see the comments floating in, you have been remarkably received, as you have been historically, and I want to thank you for the time that you've spent with us to discuss these very important topics at this moment of real change, transition.
Well, thank you very much from my side. I would like to thank you both and your audience and all of our fellow Armenians worldwide. And I really enjoyed talking to you, and I'll be always ready to have a dialogue with you and others in order to make our dream a reality. Thank you very much.